Minister of Health, Wellness and New Health Investment, Honorable Dr. Irvin McIntyre. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health, Wellness and New Health Investment, Letitia Lestrade Wyke. Chief Medical Officer, Dr. David Johnson. National Epidemiologist, Dr. Shaluddin Ahmed. Acting Deputy Chief of Police, Davidson Valerie. And lead vocalist for Triple K International, Wayne Benjamin. Ladies and gentlemen, media partners, good evening. This press briefing is one of a two-part series as we continue to commemorate our 42nd independence and as we prepare for its culmination in the next few days. Part 2 of the series will be held on Friday evening, so we invite you to tune in then. As we begin this evening's proceedings, we welcome Dr. Shaluddin Ahmed, the National Epidemiologist, to provide us with some statistics.
Minister for Health, Wellness and New Health Investment, Honorable Dr. Irvin McIntyre. Permanent Secretary for Health, Wellness and New Health Investment, Mrs. Letitia Lestrade Wyke. Chief Medical Officer, Dr. David Johnson. Acting Deputy Chief of Police, Davidson Valerie. Lead Vocalist, Triple K International, Wayne Benjamin. And our very best, Ms. Sheena Harry, our Communication Officer. Good evening all. As of today, the total number of confirmed cases of COVID in Dominica is 42. The number of active cases is 9. The last 7 cases are from 3 different communities in 3 different health districts. Of the 7, the 5 of them are from one community, identified as contacts of a positive case from one particular village. These 5 cases were detected through contact investigation and community drives. As part of the community-based surveillance, we have initiated another community screening drive. In this phase, we have successfully completed 3 communities in 3 health districts. A total of 45 individuals were tested using the PCR method, and 60 individuals were tested using the serological method from these communities. Out of 45 PCR tests, only 1 turned out to be positive. However, this individual was a contact of one of the earlier positive cases. All 60 serology test results are negative for antibodies. A total of 105 individuals were screened through the community drive. In addition to the community screening, another 112 contacts were identified through contact tracing. Of these 112, 69 individuals have been tested, and of these 69, 4 cases are positive and 65 are negative. The remaining 43 are pending. Community-based screening in other health districts is to continue in coming days. At this stage, the transmission still remains as a cluster of cases. Okay, I want to now extend thanks to our lab workers, our colleagues at the lab and primary care for their extra effort and support in making the community screening drive a success. I also want to thank the general public who are adhering to the policies of mask wearing, physical distancing, and maintaining proper hand hygiene. As we celebrate our nation's independence, we need to be mindful of how our behavior may affect the well-being of others. And so we need to continue to act in ways that prevent the spread of COVID-19. I wish you and your family a safe and happy Independence Day. With this, I thank you for your attention and good evening.
And thank you so much to Dr. Ahmed. Dr. Ahmed and his team are working tirelessly. And of course, we encourage you to continue in your cooperation. That is how you show your gratitude to Dr. Ahmed and his team for the work that they continue to do. Also with us this evening, we have entertainer and lead vocalist for Triple K International, Mr. Wayne Benjamin. Of course, we all know him as Benji N2O, and we welcome him for the first time to our press briefing.
Minister of Health, Wellness and New Health Investment, Honorable Dr. Irvin McIntyre, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health, Wellness and New Health Investment, Letitia Lestrade White, Chief Medical Officer, David Johnson, Dr. Shaladin Ahmed, Acting Deputy Chief of Police, Davidson Valerie, and Sheena Henry, my good friend. Good evening, everyone. As part of Dominica's fight against this dreaded COVID-19 virus, I feel honored having been invited to address the nation on the plans and expectations of Triple K Band International. From the onset of this pandemic, TK has led the charge to disseminate through our various media the importance of following the protocols and guidelines advised by the Ministry of Health. I must commend them for their efforts, and we appreciate the efforts the wider public for conforming. We have come though to a critical juncture where there is need to celebrate our nation's 42nd anniversary of independence while we battle a rise in COVID positive cases. In light of that, government, through the Borders Reopening Committee, has presented an extensive list of guidelines and protocols to govern the occurrence of gatherings and events. Of most importance is the need to continue observing proper social etiquette by social distancing, washing and sanitizing of hands, wearing of face masks or shields, and availing ourselves to the requisite screening and practices. These measures are designed to keep our entire country safe, and we encourage everyone to do the following accordingly. We have made adjustments to our schedule of events over the upcoming weekend. As such, we will be informing the public this evening at 8:30 p.m. live on our Facebook and Instagram pages, so please tune in. Dominica is ours to keep healthy and safe. And TK International would like to use this opportunity to admonish all persons thinking of coming to the island through illegal ports of entry that this practice is very unsafe and puts lives and the entire population at risk. Please stop. Although we are anxious to return to what we knew as normal, let us all take the necessary precaution to ensure that we remain safe and continue to be successful in this fight against COVID-19. We wish to reiterate, particularly to our fans and to all other citizens, that the health protocols must be adhered to in our quest to successfully combat this pandemic. I wish us all a happy independence and do enjoy the season. But before I leave though, I must strongly say, especially to our fans, we would not like to go back under lockdown, and would like you to adhere to all the rules and protocols set by the Ministry of Health. If not, then we certainly have to go back under lockdown, which I would not like. And if you love me, I guess that you love yourself as well. And if you're not compliant at some of these events that the authorities would have to end the event prematurely. So we'd like you to confirm, and we'd like you to adhere to all the protocol rules. Thank you and good evening.
And our thanks to Mr. Wayne Benjamin. Of course, we recognize the importance of the entertainment industry in our economy and in our independence celebration. So we thank all of those entertainers, all of those event managers and planners who have come together to advocate for the continued adherence to the protocols set by the Ministry of Health. Also with us this evening, we cannot go into a holiday without having the presence of the police at our press briefing. So with us is the Acting Deputy Chief of Police, Davidson Valerie.
Minister of Health, Wellness, and New Health Investment, Dr. Irvin McIntyre. Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Health, Wellness, and New Health Investment, Letitia Lestrade-Wyke. National Epidemiologist, Dr. Shaludin Hamid. Entertainer, lead vocalist, Triple K International, Wayne Benji N2O Benjamin. Members of the media, members of the listening public, good evening. My presentation this evening will focus mainly on the procedures in place for hosting entertainment events in this era of COVID-19 pandemic. Dominica will be celebrating its 42nd anniversary of independence under the theme Embracing Opportunities. Our independence celebration is normally marked with festive activities that generate large gatherings. However, this year, we are faced with an unusual circumstance for which we must take particular measures. The government of the Commonwealth of Dominica has a number of protocols established to help prevent the spread of COVID-19. Despite all these measures, citizens continue to disregard some of the basic protocols like social distancing and wearing of masks. They continue to assemble in large groups with no apparent care. The government of the Commonwealth of Dominica, having regard to the public safety and security, has decided to institute more stringent policies to help prevent the spread of COVID-19 in our small island state, particularly during public events. Effective today, October 28th, 2020, anyone wishing to host a public entertainment event must have permission from the Chief of Police to do so. A public event, as the name suggests, could refer to any event open to the general public. Approval may be granted to the individual providing that they meet certain requirements. The organizers must provide the start and end time for the event. There must be no more than 250 people in attendance, inclusive of event planning staff. Each patron must be allowed 36 square feet at the venue. Organizers are encouraged to ensure that there is adequate security at the venues, as this would assist in enforcing the health safety measures. The application form is available from the Discover Dominica Authority and can be submitted to the Chief of Police via email to dompol@cwdom.dm. Prior to approval, a monitoring team comprising of officers from the Dominica Police Force and officials from the Ministry of Health will conduct inspection of the venue to verify information submitted in the application. The monitoring team will also visit the venue during the hosting of the event to ensure compliance with the protocols. Any breach to the protocols will result in the event being cancelled. Also, event organizers who breach the protocols on more than one occasion will not have events approved for a period of 90 days from the last date of infraction. Please be advised that the Chief of Police will not be permitting the hosting of any event on the streets that is likely to attract large crowds. At this point, I wish to appeal to everyone to continue to work with the Ministry of Health and the police to avert any further spread of COVID-19. On another note, I wish to encourage people admitted to the various quarantine sites to observe the regulations and protocols in place. I am to report that one man who absconded from the quarantine center last week was captured by the police. He was charged and convicted and fined $2,000 to be paid immediately or in default 6 months imprisonment. Therefore, let me urge those of you who are in quarantine to follow the necessary protocols. Finally, let me take this opportunity on behalf of the Chief of Police and the ranks and file of the Commonwealth of Dominica Police Force to wish you a happy independence. Thank you.
And our thanks to Acting Deputy Chief of Police Davidson Valerie, and of course to the entire police force. Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard the points that the Acting Deputy Police Chief said, and that's because we have taken a very lackadaisical, laid-back attitude toward the coronavirus. We have been fortunate here in Dominica, but that doesn't mean we have been completely spared. So we encourage you, all those of you planning events, all those of you planning to attend events, to follow the protocols and protect yourself and your loved ones. And finally, this evening, we welcome to the podium the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. David Johnson.
Thank you very much, Ms. Harry. The Honorable Minister of Health, Wellness and New Health Investment, the Honorable Dr. Irvin McIntyre, our Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health, Letitia Lestrade-White, our Deputy Chief of Police, Davidson Valerie, Dr. Ahmed, our National Epidemiologist Acting, our entertainer and lead vocalist of Triple K International, well-known Benji N2O, Mr. Benjamin. Our listening and viewing public, good evening. For the upcoming festive season, we know that there are going to be a lot of mass gathering and festive events all over Dominica, and some are already happening. It has been observed, however, that patrons at these events do not adhere to the health protocols for avoiding the spread of COVID-19, particularly with regards to the wearing of masks, social distancing, and hand sanitization. We have done well in Dominica to prevent the community transmission of COVID-19. So we would like to see all Dominicans enjoy the activities planned around the independence season, but in a safe and responsible way. For all public events planned for the independence season, whatever form that might be, we are not encouraging, and in fact you heard it from the Deputy Chief, that no more than 250 persons at these events. At minimum, the events organizers must ensure the following is maintained during the events. The events organizers must ensure physical distancing of 6 foot, spacing among the event attendees, including in high traffic areas, and particularly during the exit and entry and in vending lines. The event organizers must ensure that there is designated staff to monitor the physical distancing at key spaces, example in lines, to avoid all form of bottlenecks. They have to ensure at least 6 foot spacing, as we said, and they could do so by using signs, tape, or other means in queues and other spaces where distances will be hard to maintain. Except you're coming as a family, living in the same household, patrons should maintain a distance of 6 feet from each other and wear face masks. Face masks is important, so the organizers must ensure that the staff, volunteers, and vendors to wear face masks and maintain a 6 feet distance from each other during his or her work time at the premises or at the event. Patrons should wear face masks during these events. It's important that we continue with our hand washing and hand sanitization during all of these mass gathering or festive events, and ensure that there's proper cleaning and decontamination of workplaces. Organizers have to ensure that their staff wash their hands for at least 20 seconds with soap and water, frequently throughout the day or night, but especially at the beginning and at the end of the shift. And prior to meal times, after cleaning, after removing gloves, wherever they're using gloves, and after using the restroom. Organizers, you must ensure hand washing facilities have soap and running water. That must be available to your employees, also to the volunteers, vendors, attendees, visitors, customers. In the case where you don't have running water, you could use hand sanitizer with at least 70% alcohol content that can be used to sanitize your hands. Sanitization of the hand is an option only if the hand is not visible soiled. You have to ensure, as an organizer in these mass gathering or activities, that there is procedure for monitoring the supply of soap or hand sanitizer and replenishing as needed. In other words, don't leave it to run out. Just don't put it there and then forget it. You have to ensure that you monitor it and you replenish it when necessary. Let me say a little about the use of alcohol. We know that persons tend to disregard all health protocols when they're intoxicated. When they take one or two shots, people forget about face masks, about social distancing. Please do not abuse alcohol during these events. Dominica's success to date to this invisible enemy called the COVID-19 pandemic is largely as a result of what we consider an all-of-society approach that is used in Dominica. The COVID-19 virus, and I want to emphasize this, the COVID-19 virus found in Dominica is the same virus that has killed to date over 1,170,000 persons all over the world. But to date, thank God, that we have not had one single death in our nature isle. And I should hasten to say that our success in Dominica is due in part to a number of things. One, the good public health legislation and recently new regulation for COVID that was put in place by the state. We have robust health protocols derived from the best available scientific evidence and international best practices. We have in Dominica strong leadership within the Ministry of Health. We have in Dominica strong leadership at the highest policy decision-making level in Dominica. We also have strong and effective collaboration within our critical stakeholders working night and day to fight off COVID-19 virus in Dominica. And by and large, we do have a general public which understands the public health measures, although now we realize that the public wants to challenge COVID-19. But let me tell you, the COVID is not afraid of anybody. If we let down our guard, it will knock us down. I want to take this opportunity at this time to express on behalf of the Honorable Minister of Health, our Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Health, the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Health, and other officials at central administration within the ministry, our profound gratitude to all of our healthcare providers who have been putting their all, risking their personal safety and that of their families in the fight against COVID-19. In my opinion, in my humble opinion, I think, and I do honestly think, that in Dominica we have some of the most resilient and committed healthcare providers. We have seen it after Tropical Storm Erika. We have seen it after Hurricane Maria, and now during COVID-19 pandemic. So words are not enough to express our profound gratitude to all of the healthcare providers and other frontline personnel, and I repeat, other frontline personnel who keep going on and going on in the fight against the COVID-19. Sometimes, but let me say this, sometimes, in fact, more often than not, persons find it easier to circulate negative things on social media or on other platforms. But these things do not do any good to anyone. The negative things are not helping in the war against COVID-19 because it is an invisible enemy and we all are at risk. So the ministry has never failed to inform the public of the measures necessary that individuals, families, and communities should take to fight against COVID. And I want to emphasize and announce here, as was said earlier by national epidemiologists, to date, we have no evidence of community transmission of COVID in Dominica. The Ministry of Health has never, nor will ever be giving out any personal information of any patient with any sickness or any disease that he or she might have. It is unethical. It is a breach of confidentiality. It serves no useful public health purpose, and we will not do it. Last week, the Ministry of Health conducted a very successful random community testing for COVID-19. We're happy to report, as you have heard earlier, that from this exercise conducted in 3 communities of Marigot Health District, the Castle Bruce Health District, and Roseau Health District, that we have found no evidence, and I repeat, we have found no evidence of community transmission to date. The ministry's focus on finding every COVID positive case, isolate every case, treat every case, and aggressively do contact tracing on every single positive case, and ensure that these contacts are self-quarantined and tested. This public health strategy is what we are focused on to ensure that we prevent community transmission of COVID in Dominica. After careful analysis from our random community testing done last weekend, I'm happy to announce that the random community testing that we originally planned to take place in the 4 other health districts of La Plaine, Grand Bay, St. Joseph, and Portsmouth on October 31st is now rescheduled to November 7th. In Dominica, and finally, in Dominica, we are doing everything possible to fight off this invisible enemy. We are working closely with the Pan American Health Organization and the Caribbean Public Agency to ensure that whenever a vaccine that has been approved by the World Health Organization is available, it will be purchased and made available to the general public. Finally, I am confident, and I repeat, I am confident that with our collective efforts, we in Dominica can prevent community transmission of COVID-19 in Dominica with our collective efforts. In ending, let me wish everyone happy 42nd Independence celebration. And I thank you for your attention, and have a good evening.
And our thanks to the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. David Johnson. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you've heard a lot about the protocols and what is expected of us over this independence season. It is not our desire to prevent anyone from freeing up, as we like to say. As a matter of fact, we encourage freeing up as a Ministry of Wellness because that is a very critical part of maintaining your mental health. But our priority remains public health and safety, and we will protect that at all costs. And that is why these protocols are in place, and that is why we ask of you, we plead that you adhere to these protocols this independence season. As I mentioned at the beginning, this is the first part of a 2-part series, so we'll be here again on Friday evening at 6 for another press briefing. I want to thank our media partners for making this broadcast possible. Thank you to our presenters for doing an excellent job this evening. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you to you for tuning in. Until our next briefing, good evening.